Hello, Duelist Hexlex here with the news. Welcome back to This Week in Master Duel, where every Thursday we will cover all of the recent happenings in Master Duel, whether it be here in Client or some less than official leaks. We'll be talking about both of those here. We'll also be looking at some more tournament results, particularly from more tournaments that are using the new ban list, giving us a further idea as to what is going to be good here in this upcoming metagame. So let's go ahead and jump straight into notifications here. We actually have quite a bit to go over here in notifications, particularly today, at least the day that I'm recording this. A lot of stuff got added here. Including new gates added to solo mode. We have a UA solo mode now. It's going to have some new cosmetics there if you're interested, and of course an extra 200 gems for everyone who finishes it. So if you're interested in either, which of course I am definitely interested in the gems, definitely feel free to head over to solo mode and check out the new gate there. Good stuff. All right. We also have a new selection and a secret pack a little bit early, but a little bit earlier than usual, however, on the selection pack. However, these cards are not ones that I think are going to be like particularly meta relevant. I don't think it's awful, but there's a bit of an anime focus on here. It is including a bunch of new cards that will support various anime archetypes, particularly Blackluster Soldiers get a new Pendulum Monster. The Breaking Ruin God is actually like not an insignificant piece of support for Egyptian gods. Well, I guess Obelisk the Tormentor in particular. The fact that your opponent can't chain to this card, and then also the Obelisk is unaffected by card effects, it's pretty rad. It's pretty good. So, yeah, I mean, that might see some experimentation. Red Eyes Soul, I mean, for how much Red Eyes is a deck, this card is actually not bad for Red Eyes at all. And the Utopia Rising offers some kind of interesting options for that deck as well. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, right? Like, this pack is not bad. Like, it's not the worst pack in the world, but unless you're very, very interested in one of these particular decks, I don't recommend buying this selection pack. I personally will not be buying into it at all. So, for whatever that's worth here. The new secret pack that came out recently, however, I think is actually a little bit better. It's going to be Beastly Claws of Terror, featuring both Scare Claws and X-Sabers. Also, have I talked about MX-Saber Invoker yet on the channel? I don't think I have, actually. This card recently got unbanned here in Master Duel, and I think it actually also got unbanned in the OCG not very long ago either, like a month or two ago. So seems like Konami is kind of experimenting with letting this card back into the meta. The reason that they brought back Invoker now, for those who are wondering, is because they banned Rongo. Invoker had a combo before where it could turbo out a 5 material Rongo, but Rongo's not a thing anymore. So even though MX-Saber Invoker does have an extremely powerful effect, I don't think there's going to be anything particularly obscene you can do with it at this current point in time. But of course, as always ever, while this card is legal anyway, keep an eye on level 4 Earth Warrior and or Beast Warrior cards, or cards that support them, as if they become relevant in even the slightest capacity, I would definitely expect to see a lot more MX-Saber Invokers around. But yeah, it's cool to have an easier way to build the Scareclaw archetype with this secret pack. I have actually considered building this deck before, and I already have like the Reich Hearts and one Reich Phobia and a Lightheart for it, so I think all I would really need are 2 of the Link 3s and maybe another 1 or 2 of the field spells here. So I don't necessarily think I'm going to be buying any of this pack to get Scareclaws. It's a fine deck, but not one I'm like chomping at the bit to play, but I'm not opposed to possibly trying it out at some point. Either way, good selection pack. It's nice, or good secret pack rather. It's very nice to see Konami now more consistently rolling these secret packs out, because there was quite a while where, like, I mean, we just got the Sword, Soul, and Punk packs, and that was like a year and 2 months after those archetypes were released here in Master Duel. So it does seem like they're starting to roll out the secret packs a little bit more frequently, which is, of course, very nice to see here. Alright, let's keep looking at these notifications here. There were some new accessories added as well. Got this BLS sleeve, if you're into that. Red Eyes icon, if you're into that. Icon frames and deck box for the dark attribute. It doesn't look terrible. I'm not going to get into these myself, because I don't think any of them really jump out at me, but they're not the worst, I suppose. Oh, and there have been a couple of updates as well. The secret pack Blazing Warriors, which notably contained the Heroic Champion cards. They took out Rongo Minad, naturally, because the card got banned. I didn't even think about that until they announced this. I was like, oh yeah, up until this point, you could have pulled a Rongo out of this secret pack, and that would have felt pretty bad. But to be fair, I don't think that many people are pulling the Heroic Champion secret pack, so I think most people are good there. But it seems like they have not only taken out Rongo, but also added a lot of the newer Heroic Challenger / Champion cards that were added to the game a few months ago. I don't remember which selection pack that was in, but that's cool. It's nice to see not only new secret packs, but also very relevant updates to currently existing secret packs. There was another one, I think, as well here. Yes, Pledge of Sword has now had the MX Saber Invoker, and then a couple of the Joker Knight cards that were newer were added to this selection pack here. So good stuff. Yeah, definitely good to see these updates here. Like I said, they were definitely needed in a lot of cases. Oh, that's just categorization of stuff in the shop. That's fine. There's a new rental tryout duel with the new selection pack. That's fine if you're interested. And yeah, looks like that is going to go ahead and do it for in-client, in-game updates there. So already a lot. We've already seen a lot. And this is still pre-ban list too. But we're going to be seeing even more here. Unofficial leaks over here on Master Duel Meta. I'm going to just hop right over here. But actually, before we talk about the leaks, that's right. I'm actually glad I kept this page open, because otherwise I would have forgotten about this. Before we talk about stuff that's getting leaked, I want to talk about the update to the usage and win rate statistics. With every update that comes in Master Duel, they update these figures as well. And, well, we had an update here. So, yeah, let's go ahead and take a look. Max C has actually shot up by 2.7%. That's definitely not insignificant. Same with Ash Blossom going up by 3.3%. It seems that as these reports keep coming out, people are just, I guess, keep realizing, oh yeah, I should be playing Max C. I don't know why it would take these for you to figure that out, but okay, sure. Here's a pretty notable one, though, actually. Kashtira Fenrir, 64.5%. It is pretty well the third most played card in Master Duel right now, and it just came out about a month ago as well. So, wow. That's that's actually not that surprising. For some reason, I was about to say that, but I definitely expected to see a lot of Kashtira Fenrirs. I don't know. I knew it was going to probably be up here on this list, but I still didn't think it was going to be the third most played card already. Holy cow. It makes a lot of sense, though. We talked about this card in our upcoming text video that went up yesterday, where, you know, if your deck has room in the main deck, and isn't, like, you know, inherently opposed to special summoning or anything like that, then it should probably just be playing 2 copies of Kashtira Fenrir. Card is excellent. It's an extender. It's a disruption. It beats disruption. It's just an excellent card overall. And yeah, I think we're going to be continuing to see Fenrir pretty much till it gets banned. I don't know if it's going to get banned. I definitely think it'll go to 1 at the very least at some point. I can't believe it's still at 3 in the TCG, actually. Holy cow. But, yeah, Kashtira Fenrir is a pretty disgustingly good card. Alright, looks like both Divine Arsenal, Zeus, Sky Thunder, and Infinite Impermanence are also seeing significantly more play. Wow, especially Imperm up by 7.5%. And Zeus also up by 7%. I think the increase of Zeus's being played might just be due to an increase of sprites, and I guess to be very true, but also plays Zeus. But I guess I was going to kind of pin it on tier being less and less played as time goes on, because we know it's going to get hit. But yeah, no, I guess tier also uses Zeus. That might not necessarily be it. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of like what decks weren't playing Zeus that are also kind of falling out of favor, but I'm probably just thinking too hard about it. It could also be like a lot of these other cards where as this information becomes more and more accessible, more and more players are realizing like, oh yeah, I should probably be playing these cards that everybody is playing. So I would have to guess that is probably the case with Zeus. Maybe it's like the case of a lot of people who hadn't crafted it beforehand, didn't think they needed it for whatever reason, are now kind of realizing like, oh, a lot of people played this, I should probably build this too. In Perm, it doesn't surprise me to see that card seeing an increase in play. I think it was already really good in this current meta, and I think as the meta goes on more towards the post-ban list state, effect negation like Imperm and also effect Veiler, so on and so forth, is going to continue to get more and more powerful as time goes on. All right, up here in the 50+% category, Call By up by 3.2%, and Baron de Fleur. This card, wow, oh my god, this card actually shot up, I think, by far the most. Is that 13.8%? Something like that? 55.5% up from 41.7. Holy moly. I suspect this is Dragon Link and Sword Soul seeing more play. Not just that, but I also suspect it's more and more people who are playing Dragon Link starting to put the Baron into their deck. Baron wasn't actually a card that you typically played too often in Dragon Link pre-Bystials, just because making a level 10 synchro, just in general, but also especially if you're already light or dark locked, well, you can't summon the Baron because it's wind. But the Bystials being level 6 and your main tuner being level 4 definitely makes the Baron much easier to make. So I would suspect that's probably why we're seeing such a drastic increase in play for Baron there. Alright, Cash Tira Unicorn. Actually, Cross-Site Designator is technically the next card, but that's just a slight change of 3.6%. Cash Tira Unicorn is another new card that we're seeing this far up, alongside Cash Tira Birth. Cash Tira Birth seeing just 1% less play than the Unicorn, which is seeing 38.6% play there. So this is obviously very similar to Fenrir. Much like Cash Tira Fenrir, Cash Tira Unicorn is actually a very generically good card, offering a lot of decks a free level 7 extender. The Birth is often played alongside it because not only do you get the Birth just, for free off of Unicorn Search, but if you use Unicorn as a material for a summon, then you can use Birth to put the Unicorn back on your board. And I would argue that if you're going first, Unicorn is, in a lot of scenarios, even better to open than Cash Tira Fenrir, because if your opponent has any kind of disruption for you on your turn, you can utilize the Unicorn to banish a card out of their extra deck, and then when your opponent activates an effect on their turn, you'll get another extra deck banish. And between two extra deck banishes, you can very often just cut out a very vital part of your opponent's strategy just by doing that. And again, the Cash Tira Birth being searched off the Unicorn will then bring back a Unicorn that you've used as a material for a summon. One thing in particular that's really easy to do, which this could also be part of why Baron is seeing more play, is if you're playing, and this is applicable to so many different decks because these cards are so generically useful, right? If you're playing Ash Blossom and Unicorn, you open both, you can special Unicorn search Birth, normal Ash Blossom, synchro for Baron, and then you can use the Birth to get back the Unicorn. And then, in addition to whatever plays your deck already has, you've already established an Omni Negate and an extra deck banish from your opponent on their turn, which is insane. That's insanely powerful. So, I'm not at all surprised to see Cash Tira Unicorn here. I said it when the card first came out, Fenrir is kind of the all-star here, but don't underestimate Unicorn. It is not far behind as the next best card in the archetype and is also pretty generically useful, and I think we are seeing some evidence of that here. Alright, we are seeing a slight decrease in play for both Sprite Elf as well as Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. Just looks like 1% for Underworld Goddess, which is pretty negligible in my opinion. Sprite Elf is down from 42.2 to 38.2. That's 4%, a little bit more notable. But that could also be just a simple decrease of people playing Tier Lament. That's definitely, I think, the reason that we're seeing a decrease in Magnum Hut, Druiswarm, and Dark as well. These four cards all going down, I think, are all indicative of Tier Lament just seeing less and less play overall. Sprite 2 to a slight extent when it comes to Elf. And also, I guess, to Magnum Hut and Druid, because I could see, I did this with my Sprite deck, I could see how a lot of Sprite decks would already be starting to take out the Bystials, as the Bystials are not looking, I don't think they're going to be terrible in the new format, but they're definitely not as good as they were when Tier Limits were far more prevalent there. All right, we have Triple Tack seeing more play. Just makes sense. It's a good card overall, I think. Evenly is seeing more play. It's actually up to above 30% for, I believe, the first time now. Same with IP Masquerade. I wonder if IP Masquerade is purely because of the alt art. I know that, I'd be lying if I said after I pulled the alt art, I definitely didn't look for some more decks to put IP in that I wasn't before. So I could actually see that being the reason. Who knows? But yeah, as far as Evenly, I don't know. You all know how I feel about Evenly. I don't think it's a bad card. I just don't like it because I don't like going second cards. So, yeah. As far as the top decks, this particular information, the deck spy win rate is just, I don't think it's relevant because Sword Soul and so many other prevalent decks we just don't have the stats for. So, okay. Here is this section here. Now let's go ahead and start talking about some of these leaks. I wanted to start by first talking actually about this one. Yes, this is the one I wanted to talk about first here. Pearlies. I actually technically dabbled into this already a little bit last week because it was kind of like unofficially leaked, but now it's officially unofficially leaked. As in it's actually here on Master Duel Meta. And that's going to be the Pearly archetype is going to be coming out in the next selection pack. So definitely look out for this deck. It's going to be extremely good. It's already proven itself in both the TCG and OCG, and it looks like we are getting enough support where it is going to be a meta contender right out the gate there. I already dabbled into Pearly, like I said, so I'm not going to go too much further into it. Rescue Ace. Rescue Ace is another leaked archetype, but as you can see with this note down here, this is going to be in the October pack, not the upcoming one we're going to get here in the first week of September. Rescue Ace is a deck that I don't know a whole lot about. I know that at first I did not see that much play, but I think it got more support that made it better. I don't think it was just a case of suddenly people realized the deck was good. I don't actually know if the spoiled cards here include the support that makes the deck exceptionally good. But in either case, whether it be when they come out initially or in a second wave of support, I would definitely keep an eye on this Rescue Ace archetype as it is, again, already proven itself in the TCG and OCG and is looking like it will be a meta contender in Master Duel at some point as well. So pretty brief on the leaks, but just because it's one we've already talked about and one that is not really going to be relevant until October, so I figured I would just keep it short and simple there. Wanted to look at a couple of tournament results from some post-ban list tournaments here. We saw one from a Decade Meta Weekly last week. We have another Decade Meta Weekly here. This one had 123 participants. As always, it was a single limb bracket with best of 3. This time around, we're seeing a lot more Dragon Links. But here's the thing. It's really easy to look at this pie chart, right, and get a lot of confirmation bias and be like, oh, Dragon Link is projected to be the best deck of the meta. And here it's taken, pretty significantly, relatively significantly, the most spots in the top 16. Therefore, Dragon Link is undisputably 100% the best deck of the new meta. It's still very much too early to say. And I don't think that one tournament result is enough evidence to point in any one particular direction. Especially, again, when a lot of people are not testing post-ban lists. Like, if you're not playing in one of these tournaments, unless you're testing with friends, like, you're not playing post-ban lists. So, there's just not enough information out there right now to make a solid call on what the post-ban list meta is going to be like. This also is a bit of confirmation bias because, a lot of people are going to go into a tournament like this thinking, oh, Dragon Link is projected to be the best deck, well then I'll take Dragon Link. So I suspect far more Dragon Link than would normally be played, are featured here because this is a post-ban list tournament. But cool that Thunder Dragon actually ended up winning the whole thing. They even teched the Chaos Hunters as well, which is a very nice tech actually. Chaos Hunter is one of those cards where like, there have been a couple of times where I've considered playing it, but I don't know. I don't think the meta has really ever been in a place where I personally think main decked Chaos Hunter is correct. But We also see Sprites doing very well in this tournament here too. This particular list is playing Diva, using that as a supplemental level 2 engine. Yeah, again, I think Pure Sprites are going to be very good moving forward. I think they're slightly underrated. I don't think people are like super sleeping on Pure Sprites, but I have seen some people say that like Runic Sprite or Tri-Sprite is going to be the best variant. I do think that a more pure variant, kind of like this one, is ultimately still going to be the best way to play sprites. But Tri, Twin, all the other variants do still end up being pretty good post-ban list as well there. Okay, here's one of the Dragon Link lists. It is running Rocket Caliber, notably, and not the Rocket Synchron. That's a change I made to my own deck relatively recently. Still want to do more testing to see how much I really like Caliber over Synchron there. Another Dragon Link. This one's got the Assault Synchron. We always love to see that little guy. Favorite card right there. Naturia Runic, again, makes sense. This is another deck that I projected to be significantly better in the new meta than it is now. And it seems like that is, in fact, the case here. Here's a Chaos deck. This deck is rad. This kind of makes me regret the fact that I dusted the one Chaos Switch I pulled, because I'm super down to try a deck like this. Like, I'm kind of thinking of just crafting the one of Chaos Switch just to try out a deck like this. Here's the thing about these new Chaos cards. The limitation of getting locked into light and dark synchro monsters only is a pretty severe one, but it's also needed because these cards are insane. Like, if they were even locked to synchros, but not specifically light and dark, this deck would already be like significantly better. Chaos Witch in particular, the fact that it can get banished from the hand or graveyard for any reason by effect or cost and give you 2 level 2 tuner tokens is nuts. I think this card is absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, again, it's that limitation that makes it a lot more difficult to play and make use of such a powerful effect. But this is definitely really, really cool. I love this list right here. I kind of hope this continues to be a thing. There is the Witch and then also a few URs in the extra deck I don't have. But if this proves to be a consistently rogue or tier 3 deck, if not better, I would happily play a Chaos deck like this and craft the stuff that I don't have. Here is another Runic Sprite variant. This one's a Fur Higher variant. Another one that I think is going to be pretty good moving forward. Cash Tirapunk, another deck that I really, really like in this new meta. Main decking 2 Nibiru. That's actually something I've noticed in a lot of these lists, and to be fair, I think that, like, you know, Runic, for example, can't really get away with playing this card, but there have been so few Nibirus in these lists. People have to be sleeping on it. I kind of can't believe people are sleeping on Nib. I think it's, like, so obvious this card is going to be so good, but in case it's not as obvious as I think, don't sleep on Nibiru. And I already emphasized this in yesterday's video about the tech choices that I thought were going to be best in the new format. Nibiru was my number one. Nibiru needs to be in pretty much every deck that has room for it and plays Max C post-ban list. That's going to be my prediction, and that's how I'm going to be deck building moving forward here. So I think 2 is overkill. I think you really only need the 1. But yeah, Nibiru. I, again, was surprised I hadn't seen more of it up to this point. Branded, yeah, again, Branded, even with only 1 Branded Fusion, I think will still be a very good post-ban list there. Oh, here's Madolche. Madolche with 3 Nib, wow. I was going to say Madolche is not a deck you tend to see very often do this well, but to be fair, decks like Madolche tend to really like an unsolved format where they have a bit of an easier time performing. And again, this list had 3 Nibiru, which, while I think that's a bit overkill, it makes sense why a rogue deck that is playing, just jamming Nibirus, is seeing success post-ban list. They're also playing the Valor edition of 3 Emperor, which I also think is probably correct for a lot of decks to do post-ban list there. Okay, here's another Dragon Link, playing Nibirus, makes sense. Another Dragon Link, playing Nibirus, again, makes sense. Maybe people aren't sleeping as much on Nib as I thought. I just remember last week when we were looking at the post-ban list tournament results, I hardly saw any Nibs, and yeah, okay, we're seeing more Nibirus now. This makes sense. Also, interesting that this Dragon Link player opted to go for the grass route with grass being limited, but shows that it's definitely still viable, that's for sure. Synchrons. Oh, I've been meaning to get into this deck, actually. Synchrons doing pretty well. Here's a Sword Soul build with multiple Nibirus. Yeah, so I think a lot of the results that we're seeing here in the DK to Meta Weeklies are making a lot of sense, especially that we're now finally starting to see more and more in debuts. I guess there was one on the Thunder Dragon list here as well, to be fair. I just kind of overlooked that one. But there was also... Oh, I had scrolled down here a bit. Let me scroll back up. Master Cup number 8 was a slightly smaller tournament, 67 players. I say slightly smaller. It's about half as many as the one we just looked at. But this one was also post-ban list, so I wanted to go ahead and make sure we were looking over the list here, just kind of seeing what's going on. A lot of Rika Sun Avalon. A lot of Rika Sun Avalon topping this time around, which, again, I sound like a broken record here, but based on what I've been predicting in the tier lists and tech choices videos, I think a lot of what we're seeing is making sense. I think Rika Sun Avalon I put as the second top tier 3 deck under MathMech, and I can very easily see a world where Rika Sun Avalon breaks into tier 2 there. So good stuff. Looks like Sword Soul ended up taking the W here, rocking 3 Valor and 3 Nibiru. Wow, and 3 Imperm. Holy cow. Like, damn, I knew Valor was going to be good going into this meta, but I didn't think that this many other people were going to pick up on that. And 2, I definitely didn't expect to see anyone on 3 Valor and 3 Imperm. But again, it makes sense. I think it's going to be good. And Sword Soul is also one of those decks that has a little bit easier of a time supporting the Valor, just because of the fact that it can, you know, decently enough occasionally make use of a level 1 tuner. So good stuff. Good stuff. Here is one of those Rika Sun Avalon lists. I don't know a lot about this deck, to be fair. I actually have a decent number of material set aside right now as far as UR crafting stuff goes, so I'm not going to make any promises, but I have been thinking about finally, after all this time, finally diving into Rika Sun Avalon. Maybe. Again, no promises there. I don't have anything against the deck, it just doesn't particularly jump out at me like some other decks do, so... Okay, branded. Finally a branded list with Nib. I noticed that in the last tournament. None of the branded lists were on Nib. I think Nib is fine in branded lists. I think a lot of the time you actually even want to send this as your light of choice depending on how you open. But yeah, there is that. Here is one of the Dragon Links. Makes a lot of sense why we're seeing that, of course. Exo Sister, despite Tier Limit not being as prevalent, still looks like it's doing pretty decently there, so that's pretty nice. Adagnister, so nice to see Adagnister doing things again. But I do think that the deck is pretty decently poised in the new meta. It definitely gets hit a little bit less by... actually, I'm trying to think what actually was holding back Adagnister pre-ban list. Was it the Ishizu Shufflers? I guess kind of? Maybe? I don't know. In any case, whatever the reason, it's nice to see Adagnister after a bit of an extended break from them there. Here's Runic Sprite, yep. Kashira Punk, yep, makes sense. And yeah, cool. Yeah, I think from what we've seen so far of these lists that have been topping these few post-ban list tournament, the meta is very, very wide open. I think it's hard to come to any sort of solid conclusion. I honestly even hesitate to say that Dragon Link is the best deck. I think it's tier 1. I'm very confident in saying that. But again, I really do hesitate to call the deck just far and away the best one. I think that there might not even be one best deck of the meta. We kind of had that be the case way back in MathMech meta, even pre-Sprite, where like MathMech was pretty good, but Sword Soul and Branded Espia were still up there. Between those three, I don't think there was a clear best deck. And again, I suspect there's a decent shot we might be entering a meta that has similar circumstances, or just it's the same case. So yeah, I think it's going to go ahead and do it for this video. We saw some in-game updates, we saw some leaks, we saw the usage and win rate statistics, which I always think is fascinating, as well as some more post-ban list tournament results. So that's going to go ahead and do it for this week in Master Duel. Thank you all so much for watching. Let's go ahead and move now to our outro. Alright everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the very end of the video like this. That means a whole lot to me. Not just personally, but it's also a great way of supporting the channel as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other means, you can of course feel free to comment and or subscribe right here on YouTube. I'm always looking to the comments section. You guys leave some pretty awesome feedback as far as like constructive criticism goes when it comes to deck building, gameplay, channel content, all that stuff. So feel free to leave your opinion down there. I will be sure to take a look at that there. And then subscribing is going to be the best way to get notifications of when these videos drop. That does happen every day, by the way, so if you're looking for daily Master Duel content, you've come to the right place. And there are more places where you can get some daily Master Duel content. If you check out the description below, follow the top link over to my Patreon page. There for just $5 a month, which is as much as you pay for a booster pack, you'll find a lot more value than a pack full of filler over there. We've got some previews for content upcoming here on the channel. We've got some exclusive games that are only posted over on Patreon over there. We've got some Q&As, and then you can also have your name featured in this lovely credit sequence where I thank all of the people who are helping contribute over there on Patreon. It's a huge support to the channel, and it really means a lot as well. So thank you everyone who is donating that is featured here on screen. And again, you know, it's not just a pure donation, you do get some more daily Master Duel content over there just for being a part of the Patreon. But I think that's about all the time that I have for today's video. Once again, I just want to thank you so very much for sticking all the way to the end of the video. Again, it just means a lot as I do put a decent amount of work into getting these videos out every single day. But that's about all the time that I've got for now, so without further ado, this is Xlex. I'm signing out, and I hope you have a fantastic day.